Hello everybody, and welcome to A2I Dyslexia's live show titled All Things Dyslexia. I hope you're all well and keeping safe during this uncertainty times that we're going through at the moment. The show is going to be different today. Trust me, it will be very informative, and also the fact that it's Mental Health Awareness Week. We've got the lovely Kerissa Nelson, who will be talking about dyslexia, mental health and inclusion. I just want to welcome everybody, no matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you're watching from, you're all welcome to join us today. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're in London, UK time, 7 p.m. Wherever you are, welcome to A2I Dyslexia live show. First of all, I'd like to introduce Kerissa Nelson. Hello, Kerissa. Thank you for coming on the show today with the amazing topic that we're going to talk about today. It's really close to my heart. And a few people that I've come in contact with who also have dyslexia would be very much interested in what today's topic is going to cover. So I'll just give a little bit of introduction about who I am, because not everybody watch the show all the time. Then we might have new people joining us. So my name's Elizabeth Takyi, and I'm the founder of A2I Dyslexia. I'm dyslexic, dyspraxic, dyscalculic, and I also have Erling syndrome. And this show came to, we wanted to do this show because we want to reach many more people who've got dyslexia and so forth. So that's a little bit about me. I want to now hand over to Kerissa, who's going to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she does and why this subject is really close to her heart, and her past work that she's done as well within the mental health remit. So Kerissa, thank you and welcome to A2I Dyslexia show.
Thanks for having me, Elizabeth. Now, I would just like to share that, as Elizabeth had alluded to, that today marks the start of Mental Health Awareness Week. That's from May 18 to 24. It's a week that is dedicated to celebrating positive mental health and raising awareness of mental health issues. Now, this year's theme for Mental Health Week is kindness. We need to remember that mental health problems can affect everyone, not just persons with dyslexia. So let's remember, let's be kind, especially to persons who might be feeling a little bit lonely, who might feel a little bit isolated due to COVID-19. Let's share a little kindness. All right. So now let's get into a little bit of background about my past work experiences. I am presently an online facilitator, course coordinator, in other words, a teacher with the University of the West Indies Open Campus, where I teach psychology courses. I am also a wellbeing workshop leader at Plymouth University, where I try to help new students that are coming in the PhD program to feel comfortable. I am also a teacher with Randstad Education Services. In the past, I have worked as a counselor with SOS Children's Villages, which is an international children's home found all over the world, but I particularly worked at the one in Jamaica. And I also worked as a counselor at Christian City Children's Home in Atlanta, Georgia. And my previous immediate work experience, no longer there, I was a youth empowerment officer working for the government of Jamaica in the Ministry of Youth and Education, where I went around the community trying to empower young persons to get back into a working profession or get them involved in some apprenticeship or some school venture. So that's a little bit about my past work experience. Now, presently, I, as a student, a PhD candidate at the University of Plymouth, my research is on understanding the psycho-emotional experiences of secondary school students with dyslexia from a teacher and student perspective. So that's a little bit about what I'm studying, what my research is on at the University of Plymouth. And you might be wondering, why did I decide to go into this type of research? Well, my friend has a child who is possibly dyslexic, possibly autistic, possibly, we're not really sure because he has not been fully assessed. And he basically faced a lot of challenges going into first grade of elementary school or primary school. And I realized that this child, he was, in addition to facing challenges with reading and writing, he started to face a little bit of mental issues as well, because he was realizing that he was different, and students were responding to him differently, teachers were responding to him differently, and at the end of the day, he was eventually asked to leave grade 1. He's still awaiting um diagnosis, but it has already started to affect his self-esteem. So my research is trying to help students and teachers to understand what it feels like to understand the emotional things that may be happening to a student who is dyslexic, and how that possibly might affect their performance in school. Right. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my research.
Right. That's really awesome. Thank you very much. Because I know we have been communicating, and you did tell me a little bit background about why you went into what you went into, the particular research that you're doing. And I think where I was really fascinated is to see someone actually doing something about this, because dyslexia in itself, having the condition, can be a big, massive mountain to climb. And myself, I have been through anxiety, depression, and all those things that one would go through when you're sort of being marked as not good at anything or will not mount to anything. So it's a really, really brilliant research that you're doing at the moment. But I just wanted to let the viewers know that you're not actually dyslexic. I just thought I made that very clear. Yeah. So you're not dyslexic, but you're passionate because you met this young boy who was struggling in the education system, and you wanted to do something about it, which is really needed at the moment, everywhere, to be honest, not just in the UK. So it's a real pleasure having you on the show. You've told us a little bit about your background. You've told us why you're doing the research. So, I mean, my next question was, why did you decide to go into this research, which you've already explained, linking it to the other? So my next question then will be, can dyslexia affect a student's mental health and school achievement? That's the first question I've got for you, yeah.
Yes, very good question. Thank you for asking. Yes, I definitely believe that dyslexia can affect students' mental health and school achievement. As the saying goes, your health is your wealth. And if students' mental well-being is not okay, then of course it will affect their schoolwork. Positive self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth in the lives of most people, if not all persons, is seen as important. Now, most people try their very best to engage in activities that will boost how they feel about themselves, and this is certainly true for me. Now, let's look at the classroom environment for a bit. Now, if a student feels lesser than or stupid, that could negatively affect their overall self-confidence, self-esteem. They may experience later on anxiety or even depression, which will affect their school performance. If I don't feel confident, or if I don't believe I can do something, or believe that I am a failure doing a specific activity, well, chances are I won't do it well, and I may be avoid it altogether. For example, this is my real life experience. I constantly fed myself with negative thoughts that I would never be good at secondary school maths, and that I will never pass GCSE maths. What do you think happened to me? Self-fulfilling prophecy. Until today, I still don't have math GSE. I have accounting, so I can do a little counting, right? Because I have accounting at both GCSE and A levels. And surprisingly, I passed undergrad math at uni. But to this day, still no GCSE math. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, negative thoughts, I believe, and thinking can affect your confidence. And sometimes students, especially dyslexic students, pay the ultimate price for failing out in school because they do not get help from their parents, their friends, their teachers, or they didn't get from anyone, any help from anyone to make sure that their mind was okay. I know that sometimes dyslexic students feel like they're not included. They feel like the inclusion is not there. So they feel lonely. They feel isolated being dyslexic. Some students also possibly feel shame and embarrassment. So they stay away from participating in class. which could have a negative effect on learning and cultivating social skills. Some students even go as far as committing suicide, right? Students, even non-student, just for anybody, working people, myself, we all need to ensure that we keep a check of our mental health as well as our physical health, as it can basically affect our performance, not only in school, but work and even our interaction with peers, our friends. So we need to ensure always keeping that check of our mind and our physical health, because as I said, your mental health, your health is your wealth.
Absolutely. And to be honest, everything you described there, it has been my journey, except the fact that I wouldn't go down the route of, taking my own life. But it's different for everybody. But the depression, the anxiety, the feeling low, the no good, up till now, even up to where I am now, that gets to a point in my working life that can be quite complex. And sometimes I will kind of step back because things from when I was young might crop up from time to time. So dyslexia doesn't go away because I'm the age I am now. I'll always have dyslexia, regardless. And some of the things that you've explained, I will say, to be honest, I can actually identify with those. Yeah, and it's great the work you're doing to really find out how best people can move forward, and what a best time to actually have this show, like this week being Mental Health Awareness Week. It's just fantastic to really bring this on board. So just to kind of takes me on to the next question now. What tips can you suggest to improve or maintain mental wellness in a student who've got dyslexia? What tips do you think you can suggest to improve that?
So these tips can basically work with students who are dyslexic, but it can also work with the general public as well. So even if you're dyslexic and you're not a student, you can also use these tips as well. So the first thing, take some time to reflect. Self-reflection is important. I find myself reflecting a lot sometimes. I sit down and I say to myself, what's going on with me? How am I feeling? What is making me feel the way I do? How is my diet? Am I eating properly? Am I eating too much carbs? Am I eating too much protein? Am I eating too much chocolate cake? Sometimes we have to sit down and think about how your diet might affect how you're feeling, how your diet might affect your mental health. You think about it as well when you're reflecting. Am I sleeping well? Am I getting 8 hours of sleep? Am I getting 5 hours of sleep? Is my sleeping pattern regular? This is something to reflect on and think on, because it can affect your mental health. And of course, importantly, are you making time for yourself? Right? Self-preservation is important. So am I making time for myself? Am I doing things that I want to do to make me feel happy? So sometimes we have to sit down and take a moment and reflect on ourselves and see what is going on with us. The next thing that you can do to keep your mental health going well, do something to lift your mood. So if you're in a funk, or you're in a low, some persons would say they're in a low mood and you want something to get you preppy, get something to lift your mood, then spend time. Well, no, you can't literally go out and visit friends, or you can't go to dinner, no. But for some persons, they might want to call a friend or a family. They might want to FaceTime. They might want to Zoom. They might want to do Google Hangout. Find ways of spending time with persons who will uplift your mood. So you're not going to call that ex-boyfriend who always get on your nerves. You're going to call persons who will speak positive to you and uplift your mood. But after COVID, don't get too dependent on social media. Once COVID is over, try and see if you can get some social interaction in to lift your mood. But for now, do what you can with what you have. The government, Boris always talks about doing exercise. Even though there's lockdown, you still have the opportunity to go out and do exercise. So not exercising, you can't blame your non-exercise on COVID, because you still, for persons who would like to exercise and it lifts their mood, you can still go out, do some exercise, do some outdoor activity. When everything gets normalized, you can go to the beach. You can go out and take a walk. When I feel stressed, I like to dance up a storm. So when I want to lift my mood, I turn on the radio, I turn on YouTube, I get some music pumping, and I just dance up a storm. And trust me, that lifts my mood. So some persons they might want to sing. I'm not a singer, so I don't sing, but that lifts the person's mood as well. And for some
Right.
people, their faith is important to them, so they might participate in some prayer meeting or church meeting or yoga or that type of thing. Their faith is important to them.
Right.
Some persons, we already talked about talking about it to someone, to you, as we said, talk to your friend, talking to your family, and go out and learn something new. Learn to bake, cook something, try new recipes, try a new hobby that is of interest to you. Just let it flow. Just try to learn something new, and of course, give back to your community if you can. Volunteer, do charity work. Sometimes I volunteer for the British Red Cross and giving back to my community. It helps me. You can do something nice for someone else. So you might say, how can me doing something nice for somebody else help my mood? But think about it. You helping somebody, you are helping yourself. So it's a good way to boost your mental health by doing
Right.
nice for somebody else.
So what if someone's watching right now and everything that you've just explained, they're thinking, well, actually, I don't want to do any of that. What other suggestions could you have for them? You've talked about all the activities, but what if somebody actually didn't want to do any of those things? Is there anything else they could engage themselves in? I'm just thinking, for me, for example, I love reading. As much as I've got dyslexia, but I do love reading. So I may want to maybe engage in something like that, reading a book or maybe watching a movie or something like that. Do you reckon? Yeah.
Or even do, as I said before, reflect on what works best for you. These are just some general tips.
General stuff.
Reflect on what best works for you. Back in the day when I was a bit younger, I used to love writing poetry. I used to love it. So to lift my mood when I was a bit younger, I was in the poetic thing. I was like writing verses and poetry and all of that. Now that I've grown older, that's no longer a hobby of mine. That no longer gives me that type of interest anymore. I guess because when I was in high school, I was doing literature, and and that took the fun out of poetry for me, because I used to freelance and I write my poetry and all of that. But after, when I was doing A levels and started to do literature, then they took the fun out of poetry for me. It all became using literary devices and reading all these complicated poetry. That took the fun out of poetry for me. So I no longer found that fun anymore. But do what's best for you. If you like art and craft and that works for you, do it. If you like, if you like, some persons don't like baking, but they probably like making drink recipes. So there's nice ways to make nutritional drinks. So you might not really want to bake, but you might like to make a new kind of smoothie. So do what's best for you. Reflect on what best for you. Reflect on what works for you, and do what makes you happy. So these are general tips, but do what works for you.
Yeah, because I know when I was going through my depression at the time, I'll be honest with you, all these things you were talking about, I couldn't even see them. At the moment when I was in what do they call it? In the thick of it, the first thing I wanted is, how do I actually recognize that I've got depression or I'm going through anxiety? How do I recognize that in the first place to be able to actually go one step further, to be able to enjoy the things I did? Because I know I didn't even want to come out of bed at some point. All I wanted to do was just be by myself and figure out where to go next. So I think it's brilliant that all the tips you've given us, but again, you're right in saying that, look, do what makes you happy in terms of activities. And I think particularly during this COVID at the moment, we're all stuck indoors. And, even though we've been told go out and exercise, for me, part of my fear is it's all well and good going out, but what if? So I've still got little anxieties going on here, So how best it works for me has been, well, maybe go out after 7 when it's a bit more quieter out. So I guess you're right in saying that, look, everyone will be different, won't they? Yeah.
And just remember, these tips are for you to keep your mental health well.
Yeah.
So if you're experiencing anxiety or depression, these are serious mental illnesses that need professional help. So these tips are just for students who are dyslexic or persons who are dyslexic or the general population who just need to keep on top of their mental health. Because Depression, anxiety, those are not things to play around with.
Absolutely.
These things won't help you if you're if you're
Far.
experiencing that level of issues. But these
Mm.
tips are just to keep yourself on track. Like I would
Absolutely.
use them for me, because I just want to keep my mental health grounded.
Mm.
So these are tips to ensure that you don't possibly end up down the road of having extreme anxiety or depression, just to make sure that you keep yourself on track.
Absolutely. And I think it's really great that we're actually talking about mental health, because when you've got dyslexia and you've got mental health on top of that, that's two different conditions going on, isn't it? Yeah. And because of that, sometimes it is best to get medical help, attention. And I mean, you've got a bit of background in mental health counselling, haven't you? Yeah.
Yes, because the thing, not to cut you, the thing that is important is that if you don't deal with your mental health before, it will lead to other mental issues. It can lead to suicide. I was reading today, and I was surprised of reading the report. The amount of students, it was a US report, the amount of students that were going down the path of self-harm and committing suicide because they did not get help with their mental health from it was at a stage where they could have gotten some help. So if you don't deal with your mental health on the initial, then it will keep going worse, and worse.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Kerissa. That's really, really lovely. It's awesome for all that feedback that you've given, the explanation you've given, and the tips. It's just absolutely wonderful. And again, anybody watching right now, if you can't keep up pace with what we're doing because it's a bit too fast for you, we will post everything that Kerissa's spoken about after the show during the course of the week. So we might cover certain parts tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and so forth. And honestly, if anybody's joined us today, we're talking about dyslexia and mental health and inclusion. So Kerissa, tell me a little bit about the inclusion side of things, because that's the topic that we're talking about. We've talked about dyslexia, we've spoken about mental health. What about the inclusion side of things? Or is that more to do with teachers and workplace? Or do you think in general, just give us a little bit of an explanation on that? Yeah.
So basically, when students go into mainstream classroom, they want to feel a part of the classroom. They want to feel included in the classroom. But sometimes, unfortunately, classrooms are not really as inclusive as it should be, especially when classes are a little bit on the larger side and there might not be teachers' aides available. Students who are dyslexic might get left behind. They might start to self-isolate because they can't keep up with the class. They can't keep up with their peers. So they start to isolate themselves. And the minute a student starts to isolate themselves, it becomes a situation where the classroom is somewhat not meeting their inclusive needs for that child. So it is important. It is very important that a teacher is aware if a student is dyslexic, or be able to recognize the signs that a student is dyslexic and incorporate the fact that the child is learning differently into the teaching curriculum. Because if that's not done, then the classroom will not be inclusive, and it can lead to a host of educational issues as well as emotional issues as well. So it's important that we're talking about mental health awareness. We're talking about dyslexia-friendly classrooms where teachers are aware of the emotional challenges, the emotional issues that might result because of students' learning differences. So it's not just about dyslexic students, it's about recognizing, because you mentioned before that you had different challenges, not just with dyslexia. So teachers need to understand that students might be going through challenges, and they need to be able to recognize these challenges and make not really exception, but integrate these students and their learning difference into their teaching curriculum. So they need to be aware.
Yeah. So give me one or two tips about inclusion, do you think? If any teachers watching, I'm sure some teachers are doing it already. There are some schools that actually say they don't recognize dyslexia in some shape or form. Or there could be a parent watching that, sometimes people are in denial sometimes. or maybe because of stigma, they may not sort of, tap into the services they need. So one or two tips on inclusion as a teacher in the classroom, what would that be?
My advice is, if you can encourage your administrator or your head teacher or your Senko, let them know that you really want to learn a little bit more about how to be dyslexia friendly. And if there are any programs or any opportunities, workshops, any conferences that they can be a part of so that they can learn more about being dyslexia friendly, let them know that you're interested and that you want to know. Tell them that you want to be aware, right? Show the interest. If they don't come to you and say, hello, we have a conference going on dyslexia, we have a workshop going on, you don't have to wait on them to invite you. Tell them that you have an interest. Tell them that you want to go to these conferences and you want to be able to understand and help students with dyslexia. So you need to show the initiative that you are interested and you want to know. Secondly, actively listen to students, especially those with learning differences. It's not just about listening, it's about active listening. It's not about hearing. Student comes to you and they're expressing themselves. It's not about hearing, it's about actively listening and seeing how you can help that student who is experiencing learning challenges. And of course, you can also do your own research. Do your own reading. When I will be hopefully I will be able to publish my results and publish some of my work. When I do that, don't let it fall into the dusty zone of the library. Teachers, when you see my articles coming out, my publications, Kerissa Nelson speaking about the psycho-emotional experiences of students, read it. It will be in the public. I'll be sharing of knowledge is important to me, so I will not be keeping this information to myself. When these read not only my information, read what's out there in the public. Researchers are doing the work. They're getting their grants, they're getting their funding, they're producing studies about how students are feeling. Do the investigation, do the reading, actively engage in improving your own understanding.
Yeah, I see you're very passionate about your work, isn't it? Very, very passionate. It's just great and awesome to have someone who's actually, I know there's some research have been done on dyslexia and mental health and all sorts of things, but it's always great to have a new face, someone who's actually doing a PhD in this particular subject, because it will help all of us. It will help teachers, it will help parents, it will help academia, it will help everybody. And it's amazing. The work you're doing is just phenomenal is the word I want to use. Yeah, really, really great. So just kind of moves me on to the next question now. So where can listeners get more information about supporting their mental well-being? I'll stop it there and then I'll follow on with the other question that I've got. So where can listeners get more help about supporting their mental well-being?
All right. So I have a couple of recommendations here. I will try to go as quickly as possible. So you may get the resources at a later point if you didn't get the time to write down all of the resources. Don't worry. Just try and listen to and get the information. But don't worry about writing them all down. No, you will get the information. But I'll just go ahead and mention them. All right. So for university students, you can to get more support with your mental health, you can visit your student well-being services. Most universities have a well-being services at their school. There's also a very, very good website called Big White Wall, and it was commissioned by over 120 organizations globally. They provide online services to students who may have anxiety, depression, or other mental health issues. So the Big White Wall is actually a good supporting tool for persons with mental health who are in the university. There's also FICA, which is like mental fitness. It helps to improve core skills, reduce the risk of mental health problems. So that's FICA. You will get all of that information. Don't worry too much. Just keep a listening ear. Send for secondary school students, teachers. A teacher who cares, you can talk to that teacher. You can also speak to your school counselor, and you can also speak to your Senko as well, which is a special education needs person at your school. All right. And for persons, not students now, but persons in general who need access with their mental health, there's an NHS. So the NHS offers mental health services free of cost, but in some cases you might need a referral from a GP to access them. And the NHS also has a campaign called Every Mind Matters. And
Yeah.
when you go onto that website, you can actually do a mind plan quiz, which is
Right.
basically 5 quick questions to get some tips if you're feeling stress or anxiety. It can help you to boost your sleep, boost your mood, and helps you to feel more in control. So that's the Every Mind Matters campaign with NHS. There's
Right. Yeah.
also another organization called frazzlecafe.com. That's FRAZZLE cafe, CAFE.org. It's about people coming together to share their stories, calmly sitting together and stating their case and feeling validated. There's also
The
mind.org.uk.
charity. Yeah.
They provide advice and support to empower anyone experiencing a mental health problem. They campaign to improve services, raise awareness, and promote understanding. A popular app that most persons are aware of is Headspace, which is an app to help you learn to meditate and practice mindfulness. There's
Right.
also Happify, um, which provides activities and games to help reduce stress and improve mental health. There's
Yeah.
also SAM app, that's SAMAPP. It helps you to understand and manage your understand anxiety. And a lot of persons know about this one that I'm about to mention, which is Samaritans, which
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Samaritan helps you to gets you to talk to somebody whenever you're going through something, and they're available 24 hours a day, and it's confidential and it's free. There's also Mind Info Line, that is MINDINFOLINE, which helps you to get information and advice about mental health problems, and the types of help that are available can be provided on this line as well.
Of course,
Rethink,
yeah.
Rethink Mental Illness Advice Services. They provide practical advice about lots of things related to mental health. These include the Mental Health Act and welfare benefits. And of course, Sane Line, which is SANLINE, sane. So you're
Yeah.
sane. Also, they provide out of hours support service, giving advice and guidance to anyone who is affected by mental illness. And of course, there's an app that I'm working on for myself, which will be available hopefully at some point in time, called Empower Me app, which is an app that I am in the process of creating to help persons
Excellent.
who are go experiences mental health. So I'm an aspiring entrepreneur as well, trying to get this app up and about. So in a
Right.
nutshell, that's just some of the resources that are available.
Okay, now, if anybody's joining us right now, today's topic, we're talking about dyslexia, mental health and inclusion, and it happens to be Mental Health Awareness Week. And we've got the lovely Kerissa Nelson, who's given us tips and sort of hints and tips of what to do if you are experiencing mental health and you've got dyslexia, one. And if you are even experiencing mental health and you don't have dyslexia, but you're actually going through mental health, please do seek help. When you were going through all these list of places and things that people can tap into, I was like really gobsmacked, because when I was at uni, I didn't access the help I needed. And I'll be honest with you, it was one of the most difficult times of my life. Not being able to go, where do I go to access this kind of help? I just thought at one point it was me with my dyslexia rather than anything else that I was going through. So I think it's such pleasure having you on the show, giving us all this information. And I know if there are a few dyslexics watching, or many dyslexics watching, the information, they might think, oh God, it's too much information overload. But don't worry, because we will be sharing this as the weeks go along in step by step. Yeah. And Kerissa, you're doing such an amazing job with what your research and your background with mental health and so forth. So that's really excellent. So, but last but not least, actually it's not last, I might have a second question as well. How can any of our viewers contact you if they would like to take part in your university PhD research? How would they be able to contact you?
So my research, I need persons who are dyslexic and teachers who teach students with dyslexic. But the thing is, you must be from Southwest England. So I'm looking for students with dyslexia and teachers who teach students with dyslexia, but they should be from Southwest England. So if you fall into that category or if you know anybody who is within this area, you can feel free to email me. And my email address is KERISSA dot Nelson, which is NELSON at PLYMOUTH dot AC.UK. So one more time, KERISSA dot NELSON at PLYMOUTH dot AC.UK. So it's Kerissa.Nelson at Plymouth.ac.uk.
And if you didn't get any of that,
and I'm also available. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. So if you type my name into Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, you will find me and you can send me a request.
and if you didn't get any of that, please don't worry, because we will have it displayed in a caption when we finish the program. We don't expect you to write everything down, because as you were saying it, Clarissa, I'm like, where is it? I'm like sort of using my eyes to follow it, but not to worry, it did pop up on the screen when we were talking as well. So you know, Kerissa is on LinkedIn. She's also on you can email her, isn't that right? And you've got your own blog. You do a blog as well, don't you?
Yes.
You do a blog as well, so all those information we'll be able to share right at the end of the show, or maybe tomorrow, and so forth. Now, there's one burning question that I have to ask, Kerissa. It's just burning. I've got to ask this. Now, your background is you. This young person that you knew was in Jamaica, wasn't it?
Yes.
What is dyslexia like in Jamaica? What is people's perception of dyslexia in Jamaica?
I've
had to ask that. At some point. What's the understanding?
It's similar to the UK. The understanding is not fully there. You know, it's one of those learning differences that it's still questionable if it's really a learning difference or a reading problem. So it's still under investigation in terms of the understanding. And as far as resources go, there's not much resources that you're going to even get if you're diagnosed with dyslexia, even though that diagnosis might take years. Because when I first met this young boy, he was in grade 1 and he's about to go into year 6, and he's still not his assessment is not yet complete. So the assessment takes a long while. Access to resources, if any, is almost virtually impossible, if any at all. And understanding is lacking. Understanding is lacking. So this research, I believe, not only will be beneficial to not only to UK, but my culture as well, because understanding is there can be no social change without understanding.
Absolutely.
There can be no social change without empirical research. So even though I am not dyslexic, my research, I am not going to be. I'm trying not. It's highly unlikely that my research will be biased in any way.
No, of course not.
Because I am an outsider looking in as objective as possible. So I depend on students who are dyslexic to inform my research, so that hopefully interventions that can be created that works for them. So basically, I'm just gathering. I'm dependent. I know that students with dyslexia, I know that persons with dyslexia have a wealth of information. So just like how I'm overloading you a little bit today with a lot of information, you give me a lot of information as well, and wealth about your experience, which is fabulous, super fantastic. So I applaud each and every one that I know who is dyslexic and strives to reach goals that other persons tell them that they couldn't get because they're dyslexic. I am passionate when I see you don't have to become a lawyer, a doctor, or a Richard Branson with dyslexia for me to believe that you're important. Just the fact that you are surviving and that you're able to come on this YouTube station right now and sit down and listen and watch, you are fabulous, you are fantastic, and you are worth it, because you are accessing a resource that is technological. That means you are important. So you don't have to be a Richard Branson to be important, or for me to say that you are. Just the fact that you are taking a step in your life to understand yourself and develop yourself a little more and concerned about your mental health, that means you are fabulous.
Thank you so much. That is just, I mean, honestly, I couldn't ask for more. What an amazing way to actually put the whole thing together. And if there's anyone watching who's from a BME background, or from Jamaica or Ghana or Nigeria, wherever, who's watching at the moment, what message would you give them right now? And they think they might be dyslexic, but just don't know how to take that little step.
Well,
and you know, what message would you give? Yeah.
Whether or not you're formally diagnosed with dyslexia, or you're thinking that you're showing symptoms of dyslexia, talk to somebody about it. Just talk to somebody. If you have a teacher, or if you're not, talk to somebody else. Talk to the NHS. Talk to somebody about it, and let them guide you and give you information as to what to do next. Don't, if you're not even sure if you're dyslexic or what, but you just, you feel like you possibly are, talk to somebody. Don't sit down on it, because it possibly may get worse and worse and worse. And even if you get an inch of support, just an inch of support, that can do wonders for you. So if you are dyslexic, and you know you're dyslexic and you want support, don't be afraid to ask for it. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Go out and get the resources that you need, so that you can improve on your learning difference. Sometimes persons say it's a disability, and for technical terms to get resources, you might call it a disability, but we know it's a different way. You have strengths, you have weaknesses. Just like me, I am not dyslexic, but I have my weaknesses. As I shared with you, maths is not my cup of tea. It's not my area of strength. And sometimes I create a self-defeating mentality in my brain, because I believe I can't do it. And that self-defeating mentality stopped me from passing GCSE maths. Don't let that happen to you. Don't ever tell yourself that you can't do something because of your learning difference, whether you're dyslexic, dyspraxic, or whatever. Don't let your learning difference stop you from being who you are. You have strengths. Yes, you have weaknesses. Ask for support. There is no shame in asking for support. Go to the relevant persons. The list of resources that I provided are professional resources. If they will be listed, so don't worry, you'll get them. Ask. There is no shame in being dyslexic. There's no shame in having a learning difference. You only cause yourself damage when you start be self-defeating, right? You only cause yourself damage when you don't have a good view of yourself. You cause yourself damage when self-fulfilling prophecies that are negative start to take over your life, right? You do that, but you can overcome anything. You just need to be confident and reach out. I'm telling you, a lot of persons suffer with mental health because they are ashamed, and because they may feel that they may be stigmatized, and they don't want the peers to know, and that type of thing. Break the silence of shame. Be kind to yourself. Mental Health Awareness Week. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. Reflect. Think about what works for you. Get help.
Thank you so much. What a brilliant way to end the show. I couldn't even say any more than that. The only thing I wanted to add to that is, because at some point I was really ashamed of even telling anybody that I've got this hidden, I call it hidden disability. People call it hidden, a different way of learning. People call it learning style. For me, it's just not that. It's a barrier to work. It's a barrier to education for me. So, and you as you know, Kerissa, dyslexia manifests differently in everybody.
Yeah.
If I have to speak for myself personally, it was really crippling me. And I couldn't even second what you've just said by saying there is no shame. There is no shame, because the minute I went for the help, it's the reason why I'm sitting here today. But I know it's a gradual process, and I know it's baby steps for most people, but I just couldn't be more, back up what you just said by saying, look, go for the help, and there is no shame. And once you actually own it, that, look, I have this condition and I need help, the world's your oyster. The world's your oyster. And I just want to say thank you so much. What a brilliant, brilliant way to end the show. Thank you so much, Kerissa Nelson, for joining us. Now, viewers, just to say, please tap into all the different resources that Carissa's going to share with us later on, either today or tomorrow. We'll post it. And do tap into the services, and please do email Kerissa. You know, with your help and support, she will be able to do this research that she's doing. And guess what? It can help all of us. It can help me, it can help you, and it can help your children, your grandchildren, and so forth. So don't just watch the show and think, right, that's it. If you can help Kerissa and you live in, Kerissa, remind me, where's the area that they have to live in?
Southwest of England.
Give me an example of that southwest, because I'm confused. Plymouth,
yeah. Area, Bristol.
And is there like an age that you're looking for, sort of age group?
Students post 16.
Post 16, right. So if you can help, do contact Kerissa. If you're a teacher and you're watching and you can help, please do contact her. You can contact us and we can forward it to her, or whichever way around that it works. And if you're a parent, why not? If you're a parent and you feel that your child has been through mental health and dyslexia, why not contact Kerissa? Because the more we can support her, the more she can do this research, the more there will be change. I just want to say thank you so much, Kerissa, for joining us today. Is there anything you want to say just sort of last before we go? Anything?
It was my pleasure being able to share with you today. And I look forward to engaging with persons. Don't be afraid. I'm very personable. You can shoot me that email and I will respond as soon as I can. LinkedIn or Twitter, I'm available.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching today. Next week is Bank Holiday Monday, so we won't be here. I think I'll probably go out to the park somewhere and sunbathe if I can. And if not, just have fun with my family. So we'll be back again on the 1st of June, and we'll be talking about dyslexia and disclosure in the workplace. We have the lovely Janet Morgan and Emma Alsop, who will be joining us. We'll be posting that flyer at some point next week or the week before, so that you can all get ready to watch the show. Thank you for watching. See you next week. Not next week. See you the week after on the 1st of June. Same place, same time. Look after yourself and take care. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.